Hello, it's Trucker Joe, and I have no plan. I am just going to go in and do it. However, I had actually already recorded the building sequence, or so I thought. When I tried to stop the recording at the end of the session, I actually learned that it tried to instead start another session. So at some point my recording stopped. I don't know whether it was because of me or because the recording software was just messed up. I don't know. But I basically lost all of the building footage. Either way, this is mostly just a concept thing anyway. Before I begin though, I kind of want to explain what I was doing. So, I have been playing on a survival local multiplayer with a friend for a while, and I kind of decided to take it upon myself to build a gateway, aka an elevator into space. I have just spent quite a bit of my time building just a basic rig that demonstrates the concepts that are going to go into the actual rig. And of course I expect to have many accidents and things, and it says it's not really for on camera. But yeah, I do kind of want to show you guys what I've been working on, and I want to show you through with how I'm going to set it up. So this is the mechanism that I'm talking about. Down there you can see this is the actual equivalent for my setup. Aside from the reactor is just really just a stand-in. But this is going to be the tower building mechanism. So as you can see here, I have an extending arm which goes up and down. There is a wall of pistons here, and a mechanism that can dock with this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm likely going to so the idea is that this will all sort of retract and extend at a fairly slow rate. I need to guarantee all the blocks will build after all. And I'm going to essentially have all these welders weld up this pole. Then what I want to do is have it dock with that pole and pull itself up and then reattach. Okay, welcome back. So I have gone in the background and wrote a script that would regulate the mechs and everything. And then I actually went and I programmed a few sequences for this. But I ran into a little bit of an issue. And basically, I found out that merge blocks don't seem to retain the same entity ID. And so they don't, they're no longer the same object. So what I'm going to have to do here is I actually have to delegate that to timer blocks. On top of that, I can't actually use the connectors directly, like throws a null pointer error, which is intentional because, well, if it's not something that it can control, I don't want it to try to run. So I'm going to have to set up a bunch of timer blocks along here. These are going to be responsible for the merge blocks, and I'm going to just set those up to do exactly what they say they do. Now that I've done that, I'm just going to load this up and start training the next sequence. So all I'm doing here is going through each step and then telling the programmable block to remember that step. And I'm doing that for basically everything, including the building phase. So I'm just walking the thing through it so that it can repeat it later. Then what I'm going to do is set up a special script that will command that programmable block to do things later. Okay, that looked pretty promising, so now I just need to take it to the next step, which is actually testing this. So I'm going to have to tell this thing to start advance. So it's going to retract the connector, and then it's going to start advancing all the way up to the top. Let me get this out of the way. And there we go. That is one perfectly executed sequence. So, I would call that pretty successful. So that's going to be the basis for my proof of concept here. And so now, I just need to get down to automating this, because the system is only ever going to work if I can guarantee that I have the right amount of resources in there. Also, it's only ever going to work if I can guarantee that that it'll be welded the exact way that I expect it to be welded. Not only that, but say it gets unloaded and reloaded, I would of course have to actually give it the ability to reset, which could be a little difficult because I can only really know if I have started a sequence or not. Honestly, I have no clue how I'm going to do that. So I may have to write code just to handle that, but for the proof of concept though, this should be fine. I'll work out the details later. So now what I need is a remote control and a second programmable block. Gateway builder regulator. And I already had calculated the number of items. But I'm going to have to do this. Gateway builder. It's going to crash. Yep, object reference not set to an instance of an object. Yeah, to be expected. Gateway builder. Remote control. Gateway builder. Also gateway builder. And that means that the gateway regulator should recompile, and it's immediately going to start telling it to run. That's a bit of a problem. I think it's because it tries to tell it to reset. So, I'm going to turn it off, and I'll let it advance just this once, because I seem to have accidentally caused a problem. So what I'm going to have to do now is set up Izzy's inventory manager on the little pseudo base that I have here, because that's what I'm going to be using to fill that cargo container. So once I have all of this set up, I will be more or less able to demonstrate this thing working in survival. So I'll see you when I have everything set up and back in survival mode, I guess. Okay, I got everything set up. I had actually had to update the resources, and so I also had to update this script here. In fact, I'm going to have to edit it right now. It appears to be correct, but just in case, I'm just going to make sure it's actually properly updated. I won't turn it on until I'm ready. So I need to disable creative mode tools so that it actually uses the resources. And then let's just toggle this on. Already it dislodges, which means that it has detected that has the resources. And now, as we can see, it is actually using the resources stored up in this large cargo container. Now, if my calculations are correct, this should actually be exactly the needed amount of resources, with nothing to spare. So let's hope that it's actually the case. And let's hope that I didn't accidentally leave out blocks at the tip, because that would be a little embarrassing, although it would be able to make up for that. Building up the top, kind of want to make sure that this is actually built. The wood is retracting. Should raise now. Yes, there we go. And if I check in here, it shouldn't have all the resources it needs. So it's connected, and now it's waiting for the backline to produce more resources. Okay, so I'm back, and I have this thing ready to go off once again, but I think I have somehow managed to mess something up. So let me explain what happened. So you may have noticed earlier I made sure to use timer blocks to enable and disable the merge blocks. Basically, what was going on was I had a bug in TeknoAXE without realizing, where I basically was still checking the name of anything in the generics group, so they would not turn on or off because it would check against the sequence name. So unless for example, this welder was named after the sequence, it wouldn't work. So I had to fix that, and I do have the new version of MacLeod running. And now I just need to make sure that this thing actually works. For some reason, I've been getting this bug where it doesn't properly restart after it advances. So I'm going to have it go through a sequence here, and then I need to check and make sure it's working now. I feel like part of the reason why it might have not worked was because I'm not sure if this happens. So I'm going to check as this is going off in time-lapse speed. Okay, that's the error. Okay, I realized that I had a couple of bugs. I'll explain them real quick. In this case, I have it set to waiting equals finished. That's actually, it should be false. Just set it to false here. I think that was me trying to fix the bug and unintentionally creating a new one, but the only time this will be updated by another script is if another script runs it with an argument. I don't need to know what the argument is, I just need to know that it's false. But I'm turning that programmable block off because it's actually, yeah, this should be pretty much filled at this stage, but I also need to fix Max because it's not the hotfix version. I had found a bug in how it manages generic stuff, and so because of that, it actually just would completely break. So I'm going to set this to have the gateway regulator. So yeah, I guess if I want to summarize what happened, Mex had a problem with the generics, where it would, for no reason, I might add, check to see if the name of the generic thing, whatever it is, the functional block, was the same name as the name of the sequence that it was a part of. And that made it so that they would never toggle. And so I removed that check, and now it should work. I also found a couple other bugs, and aside for efficiency problems that they had, not really severe, so not really worth mentioning. I'm going to turn this on, and this thing should just start moving. We can already see, because it already has the resources. Another weird thing that I noticed with this thing, as this thing goes in time-lapse mode, the projected tower is actually a little bit longer than the actual tower that gets built. This isn't really a problem, and it's not going to impact how it gets built, but I'll likely fix it anyway because I have a problem with the lights not being correctly set when they're built, and I really just want to set this thing up and forget it later. Yeah, as you can see there is actually a disconnect. It's not really severe though, so I'll likely just be able to fix that easily. One thing I kind of want to point out, I'm not sure where I'll insert this into the video, but I decided that instead of setting up the other safety systems, I decided it wouldn't be too hard for me to just make mechs persistent. So, to demonstrate, what will happen with the older version is that it'll try to go back to the first state. And as you can see, it's still properly performing its step. And then I'm going to save it in the middle of the detachment phase on the piston back there to see if it actually kind of resumes from where it should. So that's going to be right now. Let's do another quick load. As you can see, it is still resuming its previous function. However, I may have a bug involved with how I implemented this. Okay, when I run it, it then resumes. Essentially all it's doing there is I forgot to set it up so that it would run itself if there was something in the storage field, so I'll go and I'll set that up. Anyway, back to the rest of the video. This thing should start to fill up again, and I'll let you know when it's about to finish. And I'll do my outro then, as that will be the final proof that this concept works, and then all that will be left will be to test this thing in the actual server, which I may not directly get footage from, but I will at least show you what the end result is in a follow-up, maybe, sometime later. Anyway, see ya.